opportunities to engage in spiritual life. It is actually a perfect ashram. Sometimes we think, I am stuck in family life. But, those in the renounced order, the Sannyasa Ashram, they can take the spiritual life. But I cannot. Because I have these responsibilities, these different obligations. But actually, Krishna has established this varnashram dharma, this occupation, in such a way that from whatever ashram we are in, one can achieve complete perfection. And the glorious thing for us, looking around the room, we are all in Grihasta Ashram, is that we have great role models of how to live in Grihasta Ashram in a way that can bring about perfection of life. If you look in our Guru Parampara, you see many exalted Grihastas. Most notably, recently, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a great Grihasta. He had a wonderful devotional wife. He had many children. He also had a very big job, big career. He held the highest position an Indian could hold in the British government. He was a magistrate. That was the highest position one could have. And he was so exalted in his profession, his professional life, of deciding cases, adjudicating cases, that he was able to complete his job, whatever was the cases allotted to him, in 3 to 4 hours. That it would take others 3 to 4 days. And he was able to do that. And when it came time for him to consider retiring, he told them that I am now of age, I'll retire. They were so desperate for his services that they said, no, you don't retire, but we'll build a train line to your house, and every day this rail car will pick you up and take you to your office. And still to this day, if you go to his house, you can see this. Right, it's no longer active, but you can see the tracks. And it ends right in his house. But this was Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So he was not, in pursuit of his spiritual life, a slacker in the office. In fact, he was most accomplished. But that is not what made him great. What made him great was his fixed establishment of making spiritual life the center of his life. He is considered our 7th Goswami. He wrote profusely. He was an erudite scholar. And he actually re-established the true teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left, he had the pure teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became a little bit hidden. And it was he who, on the basis of Shastra, re-established the true practice of our Sanatana Dharma in this age of Kali Yuga. He's actually one of the manjaris from the spiritual world. So he gives us a great example of how to practice spiritual life in Grihasta Ashram. So, having a home is one of the opportunities we have in Grihasta life. And a home can either be a place for sense enjoyment or a place for spiritual progress. And Krishna tells us a couple verses prior, he says that when one acts according to Krishna's injunctions, one becomes free of all bondage, all difficulties. And when one disregards those injunctions, what happens? One becomes ruined in their endeavor for perfection. How many of us would like to achieve perfection? Anyone's found it? Nobody's found it? So Krishna is telling us here that by following the injunctions of the Lord, one finds perfection in life. That is the means. And of course, that process will come to in a minute. But, so in this Grihasta life, we have to decide, shall I use the facilities given to me to act according to the injunctions of the Lord, or according to the injunctions of my own desires? That is our free will to choose. But the result is fixed. If I act according to Krishna's desires, what happens? Eternal prosperity. If I act according to my own desires, what happens? Well, we don't even have to speculate. Just rewind the clock over the last whatever years of our life. What have we seen? Always constant, eternal, uninterrupted bliss and happiness? It's always this. It's like a roller coaster. Ups and downs. There are ups and there are downs. Ups and downs. And we always wish, why can't we just stay at the ups and forget the downs? Right? Well, that opportunity is there by following the injunctions of the Lord. And the injunctions of the Lord are simple. We are His eternal part and parcel. We came into this world with nothing. Zero. Zilch. And we'll leave this world with? Nothing. So whatever I claim proprietorship of between point A and point B, is it really mine? If during our visit to this home, I take hold of this container, this tray. Now I have it. It's in my hands. But is it mine? Is it mine? No. I did not come here with this. So if I'm a good guest, I'll not leave here with this in my hand. Right? But it doesn't mean if it is, I can use it, no? I'm free to use it. But I should use it according to the guidance and injunctions of the owners. If they say, hey, my dear friend, don't throw this like a frisbee at the window. Should I use this how I want to use it? My own free will? No. I should use it according to who is given. That is considered respectful. That is considered good etiquette. So who has given us all the facilities of this world that we are using? We know for sure one thing. We didn't do it. We think, no, I went to the office, I earned some income, I went to Walmart, I bought all... But start backing up the clock and thinking. All the things that went into actually doing that activity. Who gave? Even the simple oxygen we need to fuel this body, to do whatever it is that we're so proud of doing, who is giving that fuel? Not us. So the use of all the facilities in the world, just like this tray should be used according to the desires of He who gave, similarly, all the facilities of the world, we should understand what is the appropriate use of these facilities. Then we can live in harmony and be in a peaceful situation. So Krishna has certainly given many facilities for us. But we should understand how to use those facilities in the proper way. And if we do, then we'll find this perfection of life. But if we don't, we'll constantly be suffering from the misuse of that which is given. So Krishna has given us nice facilities to earn some income, to establish ourselves, to acquire nice shelter. I heard on the tour, beautiful home. It is nice. And how to make the best use out of a beautiful home is to understand whose home is it? It's Krishna's home. Why is it Krishna's home? No, my name is on the title. On the mortgage deed it says my name. But I am just like the temporary user of this tray. We are the temporary even occupant of this. 100 years from now, will this be our home? So in Grihasta Ashram, one understands that one makes their home also a temple. What does making one's home a temple? Doesn't mean we just put one flag on the top of our roof, we put one bell on the door. That doesn't make it a temple. What makes it a temple is that in our consciousness, we are making Krishna the center of that home. That we acknowledge that Krishna, you are so kind that you have given me the facilities, the capabilities to work within this material world, to accumulate some resources so that I can live in this comfortable means. And having some gratitude to He who gave these facilities and then use them according to how He wants us to use them. And if we do, then we'll find perfection of life. And Krishna, the beauty of the relationship with our Supreme Lord is just like that between a child and a father. This idea of living in Krishna's home is not foreign to us. If we go back to our childhood, we were enjoying in our home. But whose facilities were we enjoying in that home? Ours? Mother and father's. Right? And when we began to enjoy those facilities, independent of the desire of mother and father, what happened? Harmony? Bliss? Chaos. But as soon as we begin to enjoy those facilities in harmony with mother and father's desires, what happens?
Peace.
Now, when Krishna says that you work and you surrender all the fruits to me, our disillusioned mind thinks, wow, that's pretty nice of Krishna. I do all the work and he gets to enjoy. Right? That's where our mind immediately goes. When he says you surrender all the fruits, what is karma yoga? You work, but you don't take the fruits. That's like saying, I'm going to go to the office, and when the paycheck comes, I'm just going to leave it in the desk. I don't want it. Anybody signing up for that formula? No. We don't sign up for that formula. But Krishna is telling us that. Well, it's no different than in the home. When we were children, mother and father said, you enjoy, but you enjoy understanding. Who is the proprietor in this house? And ultimately you are here serving us. Maybe stated in different terms. That's there. And when that formula is applied, let's understand one thing very clearly. Who enjoys more in the house? Mother and father or child? Once in a while or 10 times out of 10? Even 11 times out of 10, right? We know. If there are 2 rasgullas in the house, and mother and father want one each, and there's child wanting, who will eat the 2 rasgullas? Child only. So we have very practical experience. When we surrender to Krishna, it is us who enjoys actually. Just as when the child surrenders to the will of mother and father in the home, they are the beneficiary. They are not the enslaved servant. They are the loving servant. Two very different dynamics. We are not the loving servant in the office to our boss. We don't serve because of love. We serve because of paycheck. Paycheck. That's it. So this consciousness of surrendering to Krishna, acknowledging everything we have is given by the Lord, using it in His service, it is not foreign to us. It is exactly how we lived our early childhoods. And we know at some point in our childhood, I'm sure my mother will attest, this idea of independence develops. And this idea, I know more than mother and father. They are old-fashioned. They don't know. And every time we experience that, what happened? We came back. Mother, I'm sorry. I was fool number one. So that is what we are doing. We're telling Krishna, you don't know. I know what's best for me. Let me go. Eat, drink, and be merry. That is the way of life. But that is, we know, according to Krishna's instruction, that is the way of our ruination. He says, ruined for endeavor of perfection. So this Grihasta Ashram and the home and the facilities we have, it's the perfect opportunity. Actually, the perfect opportunity to render wonderful service to the Lord in a very practical way. And by making our home a spiritual center, by making Krishna the center of the home. And so, having programs like this in your home are so beneficial and powerful. So congratulations again, Matthew. So Krishna gives this knowledge. And it's so simple. If I follow Krishna's instruction, happiness and peace. If I don't, misery. Who is going to choose the path of misery? Anybody? But how many of us are actually choosing the path of misery? All of us. So let's read now verse 36. That was an introduction to the, but I promise the content won't take that long. 36. Who likes to read?
Arjuna uvacha atakena prayukto yam papam karati purusha anichan api varsniya balada iva niyojita. Arjuna said, O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? Purport: a living entity as part and parcel of Supreme is originally spiritual, pure and free from all material contaminations. Therefore, by nature he is not subject to the sins of the material world. But when he is in contact with the material nature, he acts in many sinful ways without hesitation, and sometimes even against his will. As such, Arjuna's question to Krishna is very sanguine as to the perverted nature of the living entities. Although the living entities sometimes doesn't want to act in sin, he is still forced to act. Sinful actions are not, however, impelled by the super soul within, but are due to another cause, as the Lord explains in the next verse.
Okay. So, what is Arjuna doing here? What action? What's he doing here? He's asking a question. And this is our first instruction. That in spiritual life, we should be very inquisitive. Atato Brahma Jignasa. The first sutra of the Vedanta Sutras is Atato Brahma Jignasa. That one should inquire, using this intelligence, we should inquire. So what is Arjuna inquiring about? What does he want to know?
Like sometimes when you do some duty, simple activity, by force. What's going on?
Okay, good. So why is someone doing something almost by force, right? So why do we think Arjuna has asked this question?
Because Krishna was telling him to fight and don't give up his duty.
Okay, he's telling him to fight,
Somebody could be sinful.
but why is he asking this question about, again, if we just go back a few verses, what is the two choices Krishna gave? Huh?
Either work for Krishna or you don't.
Okay. So every day we wake up and every decision we make, we only have two choices. Either I'm going to work to satisfy Krishna's senses or I'm going to work to satisfy my senses. That's it. There are two decisions. Of course, within them there are many sub-decisions. But that is the main decision I make every day. Either for Krishna or either for myself. And we know when we have two decisions, how do we decide between A and B?
Whichever gives us more pleasure.
Whichever gives us more pleasure. Whichever is better for us. Right? So Krishna has said already now, what is the result when you work for Krishna?
Bliss.
And what is the result when you work for your own senses? And 99.999999999% are working for? Seems logical? Does that seem logical? Seems illogical, right? Wait a minute. If working for Krishna means happiness, working for my senses means misery, Arjuna wants to know, wait a minute. It's so simple. Then why is it that people are working to try to eat, sleep, mate, and defend? Whole life. Whole endeavor of life is centered around how to eat nicely, how to sleep nicely, how to mate nicely, and how to defend nicely. Is that consciousness? Arjuna is thinking. It seems that that's not right. And the choices are so clear. So Arjuna is asking now. Now read the question. What is Arjuna exactly asking? So what's he asking?
By what is one impelled to do sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force?
So in essence, he's asking, why somebody would make a decision like this? Right? What is this? Force. And Arjuna is asking very cleverly, importantly, impelled even unwillingly. Right? Unwillingly. So this is very, very important. Right? So Arjuna is most expert. And as soon as he hears something that doesn't seem like, wait a minute, I need to know more. How could everybody choose option B when everyone knows so clearly option A is better? That doesn't seem right. Why is that happening? This is Arjuna's brilliance. And we are the beneficiary of it. Because Krishna is now going to explain, why is it that we go and make decisions that we know actually are bad for us? And if you read ahead to the next verse, you'll know. What is that force that is pulling us to make these decisions? Lust. Lust. this intense attachment for some material desire. We saw the implications of lust at the end of the 2nd chapter, where Krishna says that when the senses start to roam, I see things, I hear things, smell things, taste things, touch things. Some desire for that manifests. That desire grows into attachment. That attachment grows into lust. So lust is nothing but intense attachment. Think about this. What is the goal of any marketing program?
Sell their products.
And what are they trying to do in our consciousness in order to sell their products?
Create a desire.
Huh?
Brainwash us.
Create a desire.
Create a desire.
Create a desire.
Right? Because that desire, they know, they don't need to say, buy my product. They don't need to do that. The really good marketing companies, they don't need to do that. All they need to do is what? Create a desire. And they know that desire will ultimately grow. And ultimately into action. This is how attachment works. So even if I can't afford that product, sometimes that desire becomes so strong. I'll take money from my child's education fund to buy this product, thinking, oh, I'll pay that back later. Sometimes people become so unscrupulous because I'll go and steal some money from here to go and get this product. So we see that this lust, it pulls one to actions that are not good for us. How many of us have made a decision to do something that there was a voice going in our head? This is not good for us. Don't do it. Don't do it. But that we still did it. Only me?
All of us.
We all have done it. We all have done it, yes. Prabhuji's honest. He's like, multiple hands. I'll put my feet up, hands. We've all done it, right? Why? Intelligence was saying, this is not good. Don't do it. But what was that force? Was it some external evil spell on me? Was it Newton's law of gravity? What was it? Now we know.
Passion.
So Arjuna wants to know, what is this thing? That obviously option A is better. And yet everybody is going to option B. So he says it's lust. Krishna is going to tell. Now Srila Prabhupada in his purport gives us some very important understanding. Right? So if now I know it's lust, what's the next logical question? Huh?
How to get rid of lust.
Okay, how to get rid of lust. So that Krishna is going to speak coming up. But even before how to get rid of it, where is our curiosity potentially going?
Know that it is lust.
Okay, to know that it is lust. Now that I know it's lust,
How can I get rid of it?
how can I get rid of it? How can I over? Where does it reside? Wow, you all are like reading Krishna's mind. Literally in the next verses, he's going to say, where does it reside? And how to get rid of it. And Srila Prabhupada is telling us, somewhat directly and also indirectly, where did it come from? Where did this lust come from? So Srila Prabhupada makes a very important point. In our original state, do we have lust? We don't have lust. in our pure state, our original state, there's no lust. The actual nature of the soul is fully free of lust. So if one is free of lust, it means his invisible force is not there. Then what decision the soul is going to make between option A and option B? A. Easy. Simple. No impediments. But even if intelligence knows serving Krishna is better, going to lead to more success, not for Krishna, for me. Don't think Krishna is the beneficiary of our surrender of the fruits. He doesn't need our fruits. He has plenty of fruit baskets in his home. So option A is clear. But now with the presence of lust, we know the decision becomes option B for us. And we are like dragged to option B. Right? So how did it come? We started in our pure state, we know. No invisible force making it. So where did lust come from? Within us. Our mind? Okay.
This world.
Huh?
When we live in this world, we see different people.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. You have ever seen a child born and begin using bad words? Huh? Have you ever seen? Where does a child learn to use bad words? Surroundings. Parents, siblings, TV, the worst influence. This is where they learn. Any child has come out, drinking alcohol and smoking cigarettes? No. Where does it come? It's learned by our interactions. A child who has grown up in a very pious home doesn't hear these things, may be aware of them, doesn't hear, are they using this foul language? No. So just as that happened, so then where does our lust come from now?
Desire and the need, everyday need, sometimes goes beyond our imagination, and then the lust comes from there.
That desire grows so strong. It overwhelms our consciousness. And it's born out of where we choose to associate. We are the creators of our lustful nature. As Prabhupada said, it is not the super soul is not impelled by the super soul within. In fact, the super soul within is trying to encourage us. Come to Bhakti Vikshas on the weekends. Read Srila Prabhupada's books. Chant the holy names. But if the lust speaks louder, on our way here we stop by the mall, some restaurant, this, that, and we get distracted. So this lust is simply born out of our interactions. So our pure state is untinged by this lust. But as soon as we begin to engage with the material world, these propensities develop. And that's the nature. So with knowledge now, we know how to avoid this invisible force that impels one to sinful life. Option A is to serve Krishna and to deliver everything to Krishna. And option B is to not. Now, brace yourselves. Don't worry, the reward of prasadam is coming soon. But brace yourselves for this. Option B is nothing but sinful life. Wait a minute, no, I'm not a sinful life. No, I'm living very piously. Think. If I take this tray and go home with it, what am I doing? Stealing. Is it anything less?
Stealing.
Stealing. Why is it stealing?
A desire to have that.
It doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to me. Simple. Black and white. I don't consider myself a thief. But if I walk home with this, I am nothing but
I become
a
what?
thief. Okay. All the facilities we are enjoying in this material world, who has given them to us? If I enjoy them separate from Krishna, I told you Prashadam is coming, so don't hate me too long. But what are we? You said it, not me. It's true. That's the harsh reality. And we know in society what happens to thieves. Punished. Why is there so much suffering in this world? Why is there so much suffering in this world? It is not the desire of the Lord, the super soul. It's our actions. It's the result of our actions. If there are so many people in the prison, do we blame the government? Why you have imprisoned all these people? No. We know that so many people have been made a wrong decision. So this is what in life we have to see how I can overcome this propensity. Not succumb to this invisible force. It should no longer be invisible to us. And by the grace of Arjuna, who's asking Krishna, presented to us by Srila Prabhupada, we understand something. Okay? We'll end on a heavy talk. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada. Questions, comments, discussion?
Yeah, I just one
Yes.
question.
Yes.
They say there are different types of ashrams. One is sannyas ashram and others I don't remember.
Mhm.
But Grihasta Ashram, as they say, is the most difficult one. As you were mentioning just now, because here we have to balance between, because we have to manage children, we have to manage work, we have to bring money and food on the table. So there's so much of chores we have to do to maintain that balance. So do you consider this as a very difficult ashram, and how to remain close to Krishna while doing all these chores? For myself, I will tell you, I don't remember every day. I'm doing as a routine my work. It doesn't come to my mind that Lord Krishna is giving us all this. You know, and
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true for others, but
Yeah.
for me it is like that.
No.
I'm just doing it. Maybe only in the morning after bath when I'm doing prayers,
Sure.
I give myself to Him.
Sure.
But later on,
That is a very honest reflection. Right? That is a very honest and self-aware reflection. And that is step one in our spiritual journey. If we delude ourselves to convince ourselves otherwise, then we'll not actually make progress, right? Just like a student who realizes I need help, he goes and gets a tutor, gets extra work, studies extra hard, and then does well. But somebody says, I got it all figured out. So that is step one. So to answer your two questions, first question was, is Grihasta Ashram hardest? And how to balance it is your second question. How to bring Krishna practically into our Grihasta. I'll answer the first one and remind me in case I forget the second one. So, in the U.S. there's a saying, right, that the grass is always greener. Right? There's this great picture of two cows, and they are sticking their heads through the fence, and they're eating each other's grass, right? Thinking their grass is better. But we know every time we see that the grass is greener, and we go to the other side, what do we find?
The other side is
Same, right? Or theirs is worse, actually. So in each ashram, it's like this. So the 4 ashrams are Sannyas Ashram, Brahmacharya Ashram, Grihasta Ashram, and Vanaprastha Ashram. So Grihasta Ashram, when one completes Grihasta Ashram, then one moves to Vanaprastha Ashram. And then from Vanaprastha, one can move to Sannyas or stay in Vanaprastha. There's no prescribed perfection. They're all perfect. So every ashram is perfect. Because Krishna created it, first of all. And every ashram is fully potent. So I can give you many reasons why Grihasta Ashram is actually easier. For example, Grihasta Ashram accommodates some sense enjoyment. It's less strict. In Brahmacharya and Sannyas Ashram, it's the sense restrictions are very strong. Very tight. In Vanaprastha Ashram, if you see from Srimad Bhagavatam, how one must enter Vanaprastha Ashram, well, none of us will be ready. It's very austere. Is it because it's austerity is required? So actually, of the 4 ashrams, Grihasta Ashram requires the least austerity. So in that way, actually, it's the most, or let's say it the other way, the least disturbing to the mind. Because when you take on austerity and we're not ready for it, we become disturbed, agitated, right? I want this. I know. Brahmacharya Ashram, Sannyasa Ashram, and even Vanaprastha Ashram, quite a bit more austerity. So in many ways, Grihastha Ashram is the quote-unquote easier. But it's not easier. Why? Because now in Grihastha Ashram, we have all these other temptations. I have to go to the office place. I have to interact with different people. I have different dynamics. And so my potential for being pulled away is stronger. So the option is that, the Grihastha Ashram, so that's like some of the challenges. Coming back to the benefits. In Grihastha Ashram, I'm engaged in work life. Well, work life is an opportunity for me to engage in devotional service. When I surrender the fruits of my work life, which is in the end, in the practical terms, my paycheck, and I use it in Krishna's service, I get the benefit of going to the office as serving Krishna. Now, when I was in the office, I was not thinking about Krishna. I was thinking about my job. But at the end of the week, when the paycheck comes, and I use that money to pay the mortgage for the house, but it's not my house. Whose house is it? Krishna's house. That work I did during the week, even though I wasn't directly thinking about Krishna, that becomes considered bhakti. But if I'm in Brahmacharya Ashram, and I am reading Bhagavad Gita and my mind is wandering here and there, that's not the same. So in many ways, like just giving one example, this Grihastha Ashram is actually easier. It's more forgiving. But it's also, we have more allurements and temptations. So every ashram has its pluses and minuses. So in the end, we can understand from whatever ashram we are in, we can achieve perfection. We don't need to jump from one ashram to the other. In fact, just in the prior verse, I think Krishna says that one should follow their duty that's theirs even imperfectly, rather than to imitate someone else's. So now in Grihasta Ashram, how to be engaged in Krishna's service 24/7. I am not living in the temple 24/7. I am not out in the streets distributing books, engaged in Harinam Sankirtan. I'm driving my kids to school. I'm going to the office. I'm going to the grocery store. I'm doing all these different activities. So, every activity that we are doing, let me take one half step back. Grihasta Ashram is not about balance. It is not about balancing my material life and spiritual life. Please throw away that idea. It's used everywhere, but you throw away that idea. I'll tell you why to throw it away. If you have two boats, and you put one foot in one boat and one foot in another boat, where are you going to end up ultimately? In the water. You'll end up in the river. Trying to put one foot in spiritual life and one foot in material life, it won't work. Now, so what's the solution? The solution is, I get into one boat. That's my boat. And my goal in life is my spiritual success. I know that. Because if I don't ultimately surrender to Krishna, my endeavor for perfection is ruined. But in my boat, I have to bring my work life. Because I have to maintain the boat. I have to bring my family life. And all my other responsibilities. And it's my job to make sure none of those capsize my boat. And take me away from my main goal. So in Grihasta Ashram, I know that my work life is a means to my spiritual success. So I do my work life. And while I'm in the office, I'm not one hand on the keyboard, one hand in the bead bag. No, that will not make me successful in my office, nor successful in my bead bag. I have to focus on my work and do my work. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who was an extraordinary magistrate. So we have to do our work nicely. But the devotee knows that the fruits of that work is to be used where? In Krishna's service. Now, does that mean the paycheck comes? I drive to the temple, 383 Lennox, and I put the paycheck in the hundi? No. That's also not practical. Because I have to maintain my house, I have to feed my children, I have to get them educated, I have these other responsibilities. So I use the facilities at work, but the purpose of my family is to engage them in Krishna's service. Because whose children are they ultimately? I have two sons. Who were their father 100 years ago? Not me. Who will be their father 100 years from now? Not me. So I, as their father, are their temporary chaperones to connect them to their eternal father. So if I'm maintaining a home for my family to live, my goal should be not to educate them to eat nicely, sleep nicely, mate nicely, and defend nicely, but to educate them on the higher purpose of life. So I use my Grihasta Ashram as that means. And I establish a nice home. I invite devotees into my home. I bring deities into my home. I render service to the deities. I bring Srimad Bhagavatam into my home. I use my income to support my local temple, to propagate Krishna consciousness, to distribute prasadam. Because Grihasta Ashram of the four ashrams is the only earning ashram. All other ashrams don't earn. And so Grihasta ashrams support all other ashrams. This is the way it's set up. So I surrender the fruits of my work in Krishna's service. So this is how one practically becomes engaged in Krishna's service 24/7. Though again, while I'm in the office, I may not be meditating on the lotus feet of Krishna. But I know when that paycheck comes, by whose blessings this paycheck came. And how I should use this then most appropriately. And remember, serving Krishna's senses doesn't mean not putting food on the table. Because when I cook in Krishna's home, who eats first? And when we feed Krishna, he takes all the food and there's nothing left for us? No. But Krishna always eats first. Krishna always eats first. So these simple things make it happen. And in Grihasta Ashram, the number one focus, how to protect ourselves in Grihasta Ashram, we must have really good sadhana. What is sadhana? Our daily chanting of the holy names. If we do not take to this sincere practice of chanting the holy names and really protect our sadhana, the allurements and temptations that exist in Grihastha life will guaranteed grab us. 100%. It's guaranteed. We'll be swept away. This sadhana, like in a castle, what do they dig? They dig a big ditch around and they fill it with water. Right? That protects any attackers from the castle. What's the protector of us? What's that moat? It is our sadhana. So we must, in Grihasta Ashram, manage our life such that we can really, sincerely put effort into our sadhana. And it's difficult, right? I have to clean the house, I have to go to the office, I have to maintain the kids, I have to do lots of things. But when we give that time to Krishna, He reciprocates. Why Bhaktivinoda Thakur was able to complete his work in 10% of the time of others? Where that ability came from? And why Krishna gave that ability? So he could go out and sense enjoy more? Because he was fully serving Krishna. When you give your time to Krishna, particularly in Grihasta Ashram, where your time is very precious and scarce, when you give something of value to somebody, how do they reciprocate? Even more. Right? So when we give our time to Krishna by chanting our rounds very nicely, sincerely, Krishna reciprocates. That does not go unanswered. And He brings about efficiencies and opportunity in the rest of our life. The foolish think this person is spending 2 hours chanting their rounds and not attending to some of the things that could be happening. But that is the same mentality that says, why I would surrender to Krishna? I'll just go and do what I want. That is your free will, but that is a foolish mentality. So, how to ultimately make success in Grihasta Ashram? Impeccable sadhana. Impeccable sadhana. And with impeccable sadhana, particularly chanting, every day, maintaining this strong discipline to chant. And when you do, you'll actually find Grihasta Ashram to be the easiest and most successful in practicing spiritual life. Of course, I say that being biased. But that's the reality. It's okay? Long answer to your question. Thank you. It's a very deep and nice question. And I appreciate the self-reflection. Because if we have a realistic assessment of where we are, then we can work to try to attain where we want to go. Any other questions? Yes?
What is Vrishni in that sloka? Vrishni?
Oh, descendant of Vrishni. Right? Krishna is coming in the Vrishni dynasty.
Oh, dynasty.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just another name for Krishna.
Kamsa used to think about Krishna all day. How to, like, maybe in a negative way. Was he also doing bhakti?
That is explained by this verse that anukulyena Krishna anushilanam. That one must think of Krishna favorably. Anukulyena. Meaning there must be a anukul, this favorable intent. So Krishna was meditating, Kamsa was meditating, Shishupal was meditating, Ravan was meditating. But that is not pure bhakti. But that meditation also has value. They were ultimately delivered. But it is not pure bhakti. Pure bhakti, anya bilashita shunyam gyanakamani navatam. No material desires. And anukulena Krishna anushilanam bhakti ruttama. That it must be favorable, intended to Krishna, and following in the footsteps of our great acharyas. That makes it pure. So it is not pure bhakti, but it is also better than never thinking of Krishna. It is said that every 8th step Kamsa would take, he would remember Krishna. Because the 8th child was going to be his doom. So we ask for blessings that we also can remember Krishna in our every 8th step, but in a positive way, not in fear.
How to overcome, and so laziness, is it a lust, form of lust?
Yeah, it's... Go ahead.
Yeah, and so how to overcome that laziness? Because like getting up to chant the rounds, I have a question, for example, and one is we're not able to complete our rounds and we'd rather, as you rightly say, that it's not a concept of balance but prioritizing. So for whatever reason, situation happens, you're not able to complete the round. The thing is that you do it in the later towards the night. But again, it's a vicious circle, then you're not able to get up in the morning.
Yeah, exactly.
So you kind of become lazy to get up, so you don't have the energy. So how to overcome that and how to fix it?
Association is great. So you should all join this morning chanting call.
I heard that too.
So if you're not joining, Mataji will post in the groups, but you should join every day. Even if you join for 1 minute, you should join every day. And it is a good inspiration that alone we are weak, but in numbers we are strong. So we team together. We also have, the other side of this is we have practical limitations also. There are realities of circumstances arise where, it may not be possible. Remember, Krishna knows the inner core consciousness in our heart and our true circumstance. So, one may be externally, having great sadhana, like externally speaking. Whether the consciousness is pride of that sadhana, then what is the value? Somebody may be truly struggling with so many things in life, and their sadhana seems broken, and they're chanting rounds here and there, hither and thither, and by midnight they're racing to finish their rounds. And we may say, oh, broken sadhana. But we don't know. That sadhana might be 20 million times better than one getting up every morning. Because consciousness is what dictates this quality. So we should just be honest with ourselves. That's it. Like, there will be times in Grihasta life that we get thrown curveballs, unexpected things, right? And it becomes difficult. Krishna knows that. Just like as parents, we don't expect our children to be perfect. We expect them to try. Sincerely. And not make excuses. So, when child brings home a bad grade, and they say, I tried, but we know they really didn't, that doesn't make it work, right? Similarly, we cannot tell Krishna, I'm trying. In reality, we are not. When we give sincere effort, Krishna will reciprocate. So it's a balance of self-discipline, making it happen, but also accommodating the realities of our Grihasta life. We're not going to be perfect in it, but just keep aspiring and keep driving to try to make it happen, but also be practical and realistic. And
How do you get that determination to do it?
determination for anything comes in confidence of the object. How did I have determination to finish college? So many obstacles are there, so many distractions. Why? It was confidence that the piece of paper would give me something of value. Right? So determination follows my faith in the objective. I give the same example, I give it just for illustration.
Let me ask.
If I, one second, I'll finish it and then don't forget your question, okay? If I put a box in front of you with $1 million in it, and I say the next 30 days you must get up at 4 a.m. and chant your 16 rounds without fail. But you can't use an alarm. But that $1 million in this box is yours, 30 days. Anybody would struggle to finish their rounds? Why? What would be the catalyst? Would we have the same obstacles we have today? Yeah. The obstacles would be there.
Incentive is strong.
Because I have faith in that $1 million. So when Krishna says, come back to my eternal abode, full of life. Theoretically, I know what's worth more. Eternal life in the spiritual world, $1 million. What's worth more? Eternal life. Yet when it comes to chanting my rounds to achieve that, why I don't have that same determination I would have? My faith. Right? So it's natural. So what do? When my faith is not so strong, what do? I latch on to someone else who has strong faith and say, you pull me. You pull me. Right? Because that's why in school, right? When one student is not studying so good, bad habits, if they're smart, what do? They find some kids who are studying really good and they become friends with them. Right? And then they'll pull them to success. Right? So what do? We pull ourselves to success by latching on and association. And ultimately, our determination and faith and all of this will come only by mercy of Guru, who will inspire it. But that's how we keep pulling away. You had a question?
Yeah, I have a friend of mine, like they in her Bhakti Diksha, they start like chanting in the morning, like around 4:30 to like 7:30. By that time they do this. So she's like a friend of mine. She has to go to work too, so she's in her car using it and repeating after it. Is that considered as chant?
Any chanting is beneficial for us. Right? So any chanting is beneficial. We work to minimize the 10 offenses to chanting of the holy names, but it is beneficial for us. But like anything, if I'm studying for an exam and I have the TV on, is that studying beneficial? Maybe to some degree. But if I turn it off and I'm concentrating, is that better?
Yeah.
Right? So the same thing with chanting. That the attentive, concentrated chanting is the best. And that is what we should work towards. Is this attentive, concentrated chanting. Now, again, there will be some practical, circumstances. But habitually, we should work to build our life such that I can chant my rounds with proper attention and focus. So that's the goal. Work there. We're not going to get there overnight. We didn't become, a college graduate overnight. But that should be our clear goal. and work towards it. So increase the quantity of your chanting. All of you should work very quickly to come to chanting 16 rounds a day. If it seems like a lot, it means we're not chanting enough. That's all it means. Just like to a marathon runner, if you say go out and run 5 miles, is that anything significant to them? But to us, it's a lot. Why is it a lot to us? Because we don't run anything. So chanting 16 rounds may seem like some far-fetched. The only reason, we're not chanting enough now. Not chanting enough. Need to take very seriously to this chanting of the holy names. And do so with dedication, concentration. And you can join these japa calls. They're so powerful. But ultimately, make it happen. Make it happen.
Significance of 16 rounds.
Yes, very significant. When you go to the doctor and he says take 2 pills 3 times a day, is there a significance to that?
The amount.
And who determines 2 pills 3 times a day? Me or the doctor? Doctor. If I think it's better to take 2 pills 2 times a day and doctor says better to take 2 pills 3 times a day, who should we listen to? Doctor. So Krishna establishes the process and Guru gives the prescribed directive. Srila Prabhupada established, you chant 16 rounds every day, no less. And the minimum. That's it. The prescription must come from an authorized source. That's it. You don't go to Google to figure out how many pills of this I should take. You'll get 6 different answers and maybe end up in the hospital. That's it. That's the significance. Srila Prabhupada advised us to counteract the influences of this lustful propensity born out of contact with material nature. One must adequately protect themselves through the holy names. Remember, it's that moat around our castle. If that moat is too shallow, what happens? You can just step right over it. The moat must be sufficiently big. They're just chanting it. But 16 rounds is nothing. It's 8.3% of your day. Krishna's not saying give me even 50%. He's saying give me 8.3. You can take the other 91.7. When we put it in those terms, 16 rounds is nothing. Again, it seems big. I'm not denying that emotion. It seems significant. But it only seems significant today because we're not chanting enough. But if we start, we'll soon realize, what was I doing with my time? And Krishna will reciprocate. When you give your valuable time, Krishna receives that with great sincerity. And he will reciprocate. Krishna's prayers never go unanswered. They never go unheard.
That's very true.
But we need that determination to make it happen. And commitment. So if you're not chanting these 16 rounds now, no problem. Start with 2 rounds. But don't stay with 2 rounds. You chant for 2 rounds. Give yourself, okay, this is Ekadashi. Next Ekadashi, I'll go increase 1 round. Okay, every other Ekadashi, I'll increase 1 round. You pick the pace, but you build something. And let the external impetuses be your guide, not internal. Because the mind will give all kinds of reasons why it can't happen. Let the intelligence decide, not the mind. Like getting up in the morning, right? At night, the intelligence decides what time to set the alarm. But in the morning, who speaks? Mind. Don't let the mind speak. In the intelligence spoke the night before, you take the phone and you put it in far enough away that you have to get up. Because the mind will speak in the morning, but intelligence speaks at night. You listen to the intelligence.
At that point of time, how do we
Distinguish between.
at that point of time that lust is so strong sometimes it's just like, okay, snooze it kind of thing.
Keep snoozing.
Don't.
Big part.
And the thing is, how do you decide that it is intelligence or it's my thing telling me just let it go, I'll do what I want to do?
You already decided the night before what time to set the alarm. There's no debate. You calculated. It is this time, how many hours? You already decided the night before what time to wake up. That's the intelligence. The rest is just the mind. Make it happen. Make it happen. You can do it. And trust me, it is an amazing journey. Like nothing else you've ever accomplished. When you accomplish it, your sense of accomplishment, I can assure you, you'll never have felt a better, more complete sense of accomplishment than that when you reach that prescribed dosage that Srila Prabhupada has given us. It is transformational. So, yes, it's a journey, but nothing easy, nothing worth getting came easy to us. So, you can all do it. That's guaranteed. Anything else?
At what age did you start chanting?
I'm still trying to learn how to chant. I am now, how old am I? 48. So, many years too late. I am millions and millions of births have transpired, but somehow by Krishna's mercy was given my mother and father who have introduced me to Srila Prabhupada, his books, to my spiritual master, and to this process of chanting. So, whatever age we are now doesn't matter. In the big picture, just start. Katavanga Maharaj, just milliseconds before he was about to die, took the spiritual life. But don't think we can take that process. Because he was a great personality. But my point is, it's never too early, and it's never too late. It's never too early and never too late. Wherever we are, start. It's April 19th, 2024. By next tax season, you should be fully engrossed in morning 16 round chanting the holy name. Anything else? Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki, Hare Krishna.